Smokey Robinson's family just dropped a surprising announcement, and it's hitting all the feels. Behind the soulful legend's smooth tunes, there's a fortune left behind that stunned everyone. But it's also wrapped in a lot of sadness. What exactly did they reveal, and why is this bittersweet news shaking the family? Let's get into it and this legend's life leading up to it. Humble beginnings. Before we unpack the recent news about Smokey Robinson's legacy and the fortune that surprised his family, let's rewind and get to know the man behind the music. Born William Robinson Jr. on February 19, 1940 in Detroit, Michigan, Smokey grew up in a modest neighborhood tucked into Detroit's North End. This wasn't just any part of town. It was a creative hotbed buzzing with raw talent and future stars. Believe it or not, Smokey's childhood neighbors included none other than Aretha Franklin and Diana Ross. Yep, talk about growing up in the right zip code. This trio of legends all came from the same vibrant community, where music was part of everyday life and dreams were bigger than the city skyline. As a kid, school was no sweat for Smokey. He did well in academics and even made his mark in sports. But his real passion? Music. Growing up in Detroit meant being surrounded by sounds that inspired him, from groups like Nolan Strong and the Diablos to Billy Ward and his Dominoes. Barrett Strong, another Detroit local, also caught young Smokey's attention and fueled his musical dreams. By 1955, the budding artist teamed up with friends to form a doo-wop group. Initially called the Five Chimes, the crew later switched names to the Matadors. His pals in the group were Ronald White, a childhood buddy, Pete Moore, a classmate, and Bobby Rogers. Bobby's cousin, Emerson Sonny Rogers, joined for a while before his sister, Claudette, stepped in. The group's sound really got a boost when guitarist Marv Tarplin joined in 1958. They cut their teeth performing around Detroit, soaking in the city's electric music scene. Eventually, they settled on a name that would become legendary: The Miracles. With Smokey at the helm, the group took off, scoring hits and proving that the grind and passion paid off. Detroit dreams into Motown magic. Back in August 1957, Smokey and his band showed up for an audition that didn't go as planned. Their shot with Brunswick Records flopped, but fate had other ideas. Enter Berry Gordy, a budding songwriter and producer who saw something special in Smokey. When Smokey whipped out a notebook bursting with 100 songs he'd scribbled during high school, Gordy's interest skyrocketed. Smokey's smooth singing and clever songwriting were exactly the spark Gordy was looking for. From there, things kicked off fast. The Miracles dropped their debut single, Got a Job, cleverly responding to a popular tune called Get a Job by the Silhouettes. This move marked the beginning of a fruitful partnership that would change music forever. By 1959, Smokey was at a crossroads. He started college but dropped out after just 2 months because the Miracles had released their first record, and the music world was calling. Berry Gordy had just launched Tamla Records, which soon became Motown, and the Miracles were among the first stars signed to this now legendary label. Then came 1960's Shop Around, a track that wasn't just a hit, it was Motown's first single to sell over 1 million copies. That milestone set the stage for a decade of success. Between 1960 and 1970, Smokey led the Miracles to a whopping 26 top 40 hits, including unforgettable songs like You've Really Got a Hold on Me and their chart-topping smash, The Tears of a Clown. In 1965, the band even updated their name to Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, giving credit where it was due with the release of their album, Going to a Go-Go. But Smokey wasn't just the smooth voice on stage. From 1962 to 1966, he flexed his creative muscles behind the scenes, writing and producing hits for Motown's biggest names. He penned tunes for The Temptations, The Four Tops, The Marvelettes, and Marvin Gaye. Think Still Water, Love, When I'm Gone, My Baby Must Be a Magician, and Ain't That Peculiar. Smokey's fingerprints are all over Motown's golden era. By the late 60s, Smokey was ready for a change. He wanted to hang up his touring shoes and focus on family life, and his growing role as Motown's vice president. But the success of The Tears of a Clown kept him on stage a little longer. His final performance with the group came in 1972 in Washington, D.C. Not one to stay quiet for long, Smokey made a comeback in 1973 with his solo album, Smokey. Though the album had its ups and downs, it featured standout tracks like the heartfelt Sweet Harmony and the sultry Baby Come Close. His real breakthrough came with 1975's A Quiet Storm, which gave us the smooth groove Baby That's Back Atcha. The title even inspired a whole genre of mellow R&B nights. Balancing executive duties at Motown with his solo career wasn't always easy. Several albums slipped under the radar due to poor promotion and mixed reviews. But Smokey bounced back with hits like Cruisin' in 1979 and Being With You in 1981. Recognition followed. In 1987, Smokey Robinson entered the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, cementing his place in music history. He kept making music, dropping albums like One Heartbeat, 1987, and Love Smokey, 1990, and guesting on TV shows and collaborations. Even into the 2000s and beyond, Smokey stayed busy. He released a gospel album, Food for the Spirit, kept producing new material with Time Flies When You're Having Fun, 2009, and teamed up with other artists, including a 2019 feature on Anderson .Paak's album. In 2023, Smokey announced fresh music with the album Gasms, including the single If We Don't Have Each Other. Smokey Robinson's journey from a determined Detroit kid with a notebook to Motown royalty shows the power of talent, persistence, and a little bit of that Motown magic. Whether you're a longtime fan or just discovering his work, there's no denying that Smokey's influence still echoes in music today. Smokey Robinson's life off stage. If you thought Smokey Robinson was just about smooth vocals and Motown hits, think again. Behind the music legend is a story full of love, complicated relationships, and some serious family loyalty that might surprise you. Let's start with the woman who was not only Smokey's wife, but also a Miracles bandmate, Claudette Rogers. The two tied the knot in 1959, starting a partnership that brought them 2 children, a son, Barry, and a daughter, Tamla. Now, Barry's birth in 1968 wasn't an easy one. Claudette suffered through 7 heartbreaking miscarriages before the couple turned to a surrogate to finally welcome their son into the world. They named him Barry as a nod to Smokey's lifelong friend and Motown's mastermind, Berry Gordy. Barry Robinson tends to keep a low profile, but is clearly family-focused. He's a devoted dad himself, raising twins who get plenty of grandpa love from Smokey. Meanwhile, Tamla Robinson, born in 1971, she's made waves as a director and executive producer, proving the Robinson talent runs in the family. What's beautiful about Tamla's relationship with her dad is how close they remain. They even celebrate a personal holiday, Father-Daughter Day, dedicated just to their bond. Tamla once opened up about how Smokey shaped her confidence, saying he's always been there to offer advice and acceptance, reminding her to stay true to herself. Plus, Smokey's support extends to Tamla's daughter, Lyric, making sure love flows through every generation. But the Robinson family story isn't all smooth sailing. While married to Claudette, Smokey's life included some rocky moments, specifically several affairs. From one of these relationships came Trey, born in 1984, to a woman named Candy. Despite the complicated start, Claudette, Smokey, Trey, and Candy managed to maintain respectful and caring relationships. In fact, Claudette's will even stated that if anything happened to Candy, she wanted to raise Trey herself. Trey, like his brothers and sister, keeps mostly out of the spotlight, but the sibling bond runs deep. Tamla's heartfelt tribute to Trey on National Siblings Day showed that family ties trump any drama. Smokey and Claudette separated back in 1974 and eventually divorced in 1986. His affairs and personal struggles inspired some of his music, including the emotionally charged, the agony, and the ecstasy. Fast forward to May 2002, and Smokey found love again, marrying Frances Gladney, an interior designer. Together, they share a home in Pittsburgh, which doubles as a winery. Frances stepped into the role of stepmother for Barry, Tamla, and Trey, blending the family as best as anyone could hope. Through all the highs and lows, Smokey's devotion to his kids shines bright. He cherishes their time together, showing that family remains a top priority beyond the stage lights. Smokey's life also includes some serious self-care moves. Since 1972, He's steered clear of red meat and embraced transcendental meditation. And here's a fun fact: his striking golden green eyes, he believes they come from his French great-grandmother, a little mystery to match that unmistakable voice. Recently, Smokey added another role to his resume. Since November 2023, he's been running and hosting the Sirius XM channel Soul Town, spinning R&B and soul classics from the 50s through the early 80s. On Smokey's Soul Town, he shares personal stories and favorite tunes, giving fans a front-row seat to Motown's magic. One of Smokey's lifelong friendships was with Aretha Franklin, a neighbor and friend since they were kids in Detroit. When Aretha passed in 2018, Smokey honored her at her memorial, reminiscing about their childhood and how they were the last two from their circle of friends. It was clear how much that bond meant to him. Hidden romance. Love stories in the spotlight often come with a twist, but Smokey Robinson's revelation about a secret affair with Diana Ross adds a whole new layer to Motown's legendary history. At 83 years old, Smokey opened up about a year-long romance with his childhood friend and Motown superstar Diana Ross, while he was still married to his first wife, Claudette Rogers. This wasn't some random fling. Their connection grew naturally while working side by side at Motown, a place where magic happened not just on record, but offstage too. Smokey recalled how the two of them fell into the relationship. "I was married at the time. Diana and I were working together, and it just happened, but it was beautiful." His words paint a picture of a tender, meaningful connection, wrapped in the complexities of their personal lives. Diana, known for her stunning beauty and powerhouse talent, held a special place in Smokey's heart. He spoke warmly about her, emphasizing not only how much he loved her, but also how deeply involved he was in helping boost her career. In fact, Smokey played a role in bringing Diana to Motown, setting her on a path to stardom that would define an era. But even amid this passion, reality weighed heavily. Smokey shared that their affair came to an end because Diana recognized the tangled emotions involved. "After we'd been seeing each other for a while, Diana said to me she couldn't do that because she knew Claudette, and she knew I still loved my wife," he explained. It was a moment of clarity that put the brakes on their romance, acknowledging the love he still held for Claudette, despite everything. Smokey's reflections go beyond just this one chapter. As he's grown older, he's shared a more nuanced view of love, one that accepts its messiness and complexity. He believes it's possible to care deeply for more than one person at the same time, not because one partner falls short, but because feelings aren't always so simple to navigate. "It's not about one person not being good enough," he said, "but feelings that are hard to control." This admission sheds light on the emotional roller coaster that often accompanies relationships, especially in the high-pressure world of fame. Smokey's marriage to Claudette lasted from 1959 to 1986, spanning decades filled with success, struggle, and personal growth. He has mentioned before that his affair with Diana lasted longer than it should have, underscoring the human side of mistakes made in complicated circumstances. At the heart of Smokey's story is a reminder that love isn't always neat or straightforward. Even when intentions are good and hearts are loyal, emotions can pull people in unexpected directions. His candidness invites us to see the legend not just as a Motown icon, but as a man navigating the same tangled feelings many of us face. Looking back, this hidden chapter of Motown history adds depth to the careers of both Smokey Robinson and Diana Ross. It's a bittersweet reminder that behind the timeless music and glitz, there were real lives, real feelings, and stories that didn't always fit the perfect mold. In the end, Smokey's willingness to share this piece of his past shows how love, like music, is rarely black and white. It's a complex melody that sometimes hits surprising notes, yet leaves a lasting impression, turning it all around. Not all legends wear capes. Smokey Robinson's biggest comeback wasn't on a music chart. It was in his soul. For years, Smokey rode the high of fame. What started as weed and a little confidence in his self-control snowballed into a full-blown addiction. And it wasn't the kind of story where things slowly unravel. This was a crash-and-burn moment. Cocaine didn't just show up. It took over, messing with his mind, body, and relationships. The man known for his smooth voice and heart-tugging lyrics was suddenly drowning in a habit he couldn't control. Smokey had once believed he was too grounded to fall into addiction. He thought that, because he could go months without smoking weed, he was immune. but cocaine didn't play by those rules. It dragged him down hard. During those dark years, Smokey pushed away people who tried to help. Friends and loved ones who called him out were replaced with yes men. As Smokey later put it, once you cut out the folks who actually care about you, things start going off the rails fast. In 1986, Smokey's longtime friend, Leon Kennedy, stepped in. The very next day, they went to a church service in Los Angeles. Smokey didn't know it yet, but that visit would change everything. He walked into the church with no expectations. But the moment the pastor started speaking, Smokey felt something shift. This wasn't your average sermon. The woman leading the service seemed to be describing in eerie detail the physical and emotional chaos Smokey had been hiding. She said, God told her he'd be there that day. Smokey was floored. I walked in that church with a habit, he later said, and I walked out free. No detox, no rehab, no drawn-out process. Just a moment of clarity, a burst of something greater, and a decision that stuck. Since that day in May 1986, Smokey hasn't looked back. No drugs, no relapse, just a new chapter. And it didn't stop at sobriety. Smokey's made other lifestyle changes too. He stopped eating red meat back in the early 70s and practices transcendental meditation. His health routine is more zen than rock and roll now. He credits it all to one thing: faith. I don't care what your struggle is, food, sex, drugs. If you really want to be free from it, you can go to God, he said. His message isn't preachy, just real. He's been through it, made it out. And he's not shy about what got him there. Today, Smokey isn't just performing again. He's mentoring, sharing, and staying connected to his fans. He's traded chaos for clarity and parties for purpose. His music still fills arenas, but it's his story that hits hardest. And let's be honest, Smokey's glow these days isn't just from stage lights. It's from surviving something that almost took him out and choosing every day to stay free. If you are enjoying this video, appreciate it by giving it a thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. Love and royalties. You'd think after decades in the music industry, the trickiest part of Smokey Robinson's career would be hitting the high notes. Nope. Try copyright law and your ex-wife. Smokey Robinson, known for turning emotions into chart toppers, found himself in a very different kind of drama, this time in a courtroom, not a recording studio. The headline? A legal showdown between Smokey and his ex-wife, Claudette Robinson, over the rights to the songs that helped make him a household name. It all started when Smokey attempted to reclaim ownership of his classic tracks under a provision in U.S. copyright law, the Copyright Act of 1976. This rule gives artists the chance to regain control over music they signed away early in their careers, usually when they had little leverage or were just grateful to get a record deal. The law's been a second shot for legends like Bob Dylan and Tom Petty, and Smokey figured he'd take his swing too. But then came a curveball: Claudette. Claudette wasn't just Smokey's ex. She was a longtime member of the Miracles and the mother of his children. She was also part of his career from the very beginning. And when she caught wind that Smokey had moved to recapture his music rights, she responded with a legal counterpunch of her own. Her claim? She was entitled to have. Claudette argued that the songs created during their marriage counted as community property under California law, meaning she had a stake in anything Smokey reclaimed. On top of that, she said their 1989 divorce settlement guaranteed her protection from being cut out of the loop. Smokey, on the other hand, wasn't having it. His legal team fired back, saying the reclaimed copyrights belong solely to the writer, with no exceptions. The heart of the debate centered on whether these reclaimed rights should be treated as new property, which belongs only to the artist, or as an extension of the original works, which could be split like other marital assets. Smokey's team stood firm. The rights weren't community property, and any deal made before the rights were officially recaptured didn't count. Claudette's team shot back, saying this whole thing smelled like a clever attempt to rewrite history and keep all the money. The case made waves because it broke new ground. This wasn't just about Smokey and Claudette's split. It marked the first time a federal court had to consider how post-divorce copyright recapture played out between former spouses. The ruling had the potential to impact anyone in the entertainment industry, with old hits and old flames. Let's not forget, Smokey and Claudette were married for nearly 3 decades. That's not just a marriage, that's a Motown legacy. Claudette left the stage in 1964 to focus on their family while Smokey continued touring, writing, and running the business. She says she supported him through it all and deserves a fair share now that the songs are profitable again. Smokey says the law's on his side and that recaptured rights weren't part of the deal when they signed those divorce papers. This legal back and forth shines a light on something a lot of artists overlook. Owning your work isn't just about contracts. It's also about timing, relationships, and how airtight your agreements are. In showbiz, the love songs may last forever, but the royalties, those can come with some serious fine print. At the end of the day, Smokey's case reminds us that even legends have to lawyer up. Fame may fade, but legal documents last a lifetime, and they don't care how many Grammys you've got. Comebacks, controversy, and an album. Smokey, now in his mid-80s, isn't just coasting on old hits. After a life-threatening battle with COVID-19 and a career that could have comfortably ended decades ago, he's back on stage, releasing new music, stirring up debates, and proving you can't count out a Motown legend. In 2020, Smokey faced one of the biggest challenges of his life. After catching COVID-19, he was hospitalized for nearly 2 weeks in Los Angeles. He later revealed that for several days, he was completely out of it. No memory, no strength, barely able to speak. For a man whose voice built an empire, that was terrifying. He didn't know if he'd ever sing again. But he pulled through, and doctors credited his healthy lifestyle. No red meat since the 70s, regular workouts, yoga, and the mindset of a marathon runner. Smokey says it's those habits that gave him a fighting chance. Looking back, he admits the reality of how close he came to death didn't even hit him until he got home. Now fully recovered, he's encouraging others to protect themselves. He's vocal about taking COVID seriously, especially for older folks, and urges fans to stay smart, stay safe, and take care of the people they love. Let's talk about that album name. When Smokey announced Gasms, his first album of original material in over a decade, and he loved every second of it. Yeah, I knew it would get people talking, he admitted with a grin. Mission accomplished. Gasms took nearly 6 years to complete and was built on Smokey's refusal to stop creating. He described the title as whatever the listener wants it to be, an experience, a feeling, a spark. The first single, If We Don't Have Each Other, dropped in early 2023, followed by the smooth groove How You Make Me Feel, which he came up with while messing around on the piano. He wanted something fresh and modern, and he nailed it. Even after 60 years in the game, Smokey's not jaded. He still lights up when talking about new artists and even celebrates the 50th anniversary of hip-hop. Rappers like ASAP Rocky and Kanye West have sampled his work, and Smokey's cool with that. People said Motown wouldn't last either, he said. Kids are making incredible stuff. Let them cook. He's also been reflecting on the early days. He recalls dodging racism in the South during the height of the civil rights era, and credits music with helping tear down some of those walls. Music brought people together when nothing else could. Smokey's also not afraid to speak his mind. During a chat on The View, he made waves by saying he prefers being called a Black American over African American. His reasoning? Black Americans have made deep, undeniable contributions to building the United States and should be recognized as such. At this point, Smokey could be sipping wine on a beach somewhere, and yes, he still enjoys a glass now and then, but instead, he's on stage, recording, mentoring younger artists, and giving interviews that make headlines. He says performing is the party, and when the lights go down, he heads to bed, not the club. Facing his toughest battle. Every time you hear Smokey Robinson's voice, it's like a hug from the universe. His music has comforted countless listeners, transcending generations. But behind the silky melodies and stage lights, a very human struggle has been unfolding. And it reminds us that even icons face their own vulnerabilities. In recent years, Smokey started noticing subtle changes, small slips in coordination, unexplained fatigue, and fleeting memory lapses started being seen. At first, he chalked it up to aging or stress from splitting time between family, personal projects, and ongoing mentoring of younger artists. His life seemed peaceful, spending quality time with loved ones and quietly working on new music that would bridge his legacy with today's sounds. The calm was shattered during a routine health check. Doctors delivered a diagnosis that brought everything into sharp focus. a rare neurological condition threatening his motor skills, speech, and quality of life. Hearing this news wasn't just shocking, it was devastating. For someone whose identity is tied to melody, rhythm, and heartfelt storytelling, this felt like losing the essence of who he is. The news hit close to home, not just for Smokey, but also for family, friends, and fans around the world. His eldest daughter shared emotional words. "Dad has always been a fighter. This news is tough, but we believe in his strength and the power of love surrounding him. We are committed to being with him every step of the way." Her voice captured both the concern and determination echoing through their close-knit circle. Colleagues and fellow artists also rallied around him. Social media burst with messages of encouragement and gratitude, as performers old and new reflected on shared memories, tours, and his timeless influence. Smokey's slowing schedule isn't the finale. He's postponed public appearances, adjusted touring plans, and embraced rest as part of his recovery. After every concert, he skips the after-party, choosing quiet evenings in his hotel room instead. "That stage, that was the party," he says. Each performance now carries a deeper emotional weight, a testament to battles fought both on and off stage. His spirit remains unbreakable. With a shift toward creating and mentoring rather than performing heavily, Smokey is exploring studio work, songwriting, and intimate performances that carry less physical strain. He's not quitting music. He's reimagining how he connects with audiences and supports emerging talent. This isn't the first time Smokey's faced adversity. From battling addiction to caring for loved ones and advocating for Black artistry, he's shown a remarkable ability to rise. He overcame cocaine dependency decades ago, fueled by his faith and community, and has stayed active and mindful ever since, avoiding red meat, practicing yoga, and taking transcendental meditation seriously. More than a voice, Smokey Robinson is a storyteller who taught us that music can bridge divides, heal hearts, and ignite hope. His career spans over half a century, and through this new challenge, he continues to inspire. Whether he's in a concert hall or a quiet studio, his message is clear. Vulnerability is part of the human experience, and true strength shines brightest in how we meet life's toughest moments. Today, Smokey's journey asks us all to slow down, cherish loved ones, and rally around those we hold dear. It's a powerful reminder that our real heroes aren't flawless. Smokey Robinson remains a voice of courage, compassion, and undeniable soul. And whether he's belting out classics or quietly creating behind the scenes, his impact is more profound than ever. If this story touched your heart, take a second to like this video. Subscribe for more behind-the-scenes looks at music's most iconic voices, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a moment. Drop a comment below with your favorite Smokey song or a memory tied to his music. We'd love to hear how his voice has been the soundtrack to your life.